Podcast listeners have 4.4 times greater brand recall and higher purchase intent when compared to those exposed to other digital ad formats. This makes podcast ads one of the most effective forms of media for advertising. In this video, we're going to talk about the 2 ways that podcasters can use podcast advertising for their show, to monetize, and to grow your audience. Similar to ads anywhere else, podcast ads are when a brand pays a podcast for promotional breaks during the episode. Either the host reads an advertisement for the brand, or it's a pre-recorded message inserted into the show. The ad usually contains information about a product or promotion, a personal experience that the host has had with the product, a call to action, and sometimes it will include a discount code or a promotion. Podcast listeners are more receptive to ads than traditional ad formats. This is because they've created a relationship with the host and trust them to make real recommendations. Listeners are usually doing something else while they're listening to their podcast, so they don't take the time to skip through any podcast ads. In fact, 65% of listeners report never skipping through podcast ads. Baked-in ads is when the audio is recorded with the original audio file, making it a permanent part of the episode that can't be changed later. Dynamic Insertion Ads is when a pre-recorded ad, usually recorded by the host of the show or the advertiser, uses technology to selectively place the ad within an episode. This allows ads to change based on episode content, listener demographics, and timing of promotions. You can use these for live show announcements, merch sales, job openings, and even new episode releases. If you want to take advantage of this, make sure that your hosting site is set up for dynamic ad insertion like Buzzsprout, Podbean, or Anchor. Most podcast advertising rates are based on the consistent amount of downloads and streams that an episode gets within the first 30 days of release. A CPM rate is based on the number of 1,000 listeners that an episode has. In addition to charging per listener or per download, ad rates also change based on where the ad is placed within the episode. Pre-roll and post-roll ads are placed before or after the episode content and usually last about 15 to 30 seconds. Mid-roll is when an ad is placed within the middle of an episode and can last up to 60 seconds. These are more expensive because it's when the listeners are the most engaged. According to AdvertiseCast, the average CPM for ads in 2022 is about $18 to $25. When you're just starting out with your podcast, a great way to do this is by writing up your own advertising plan and going to local businesses and seeing if they'd like to run an ad on your show. This is great because it gets you involved with the community and it will give you a portfolio of ads that you've already run when you start to work with bigger brands. If you have a niche podcast, you could reach out directly to companies that would resonate with your audience. Make sure to let them know what your podcast is about, who your target audience is, and the average number of downloads that you get per episode. Once you've developed a loyal audience and you start getting a couple thousand downloads per episode, then you can start looking at working with bigger brands on a regular basis. You can find these brands with a podcast ad network. They will connect you with advertisers, negotiate rates, get the script, and more. Some to look into are Midroll and AdvertiseCast. Another great website to look into is Podcorn. This website automatically connects podcasters with brands that fit within their niche. If your podcast is set up for a dynamic ad insertion through your hosting site, then you can make money that way as well. Many podcast hosting sites have their own marketplace for buying and selling podcast ads. Check out AdvertiseCast and Podbean's Pod Ads. While you can use podcast advertising to make money, you can also use it to grow your audience. A great way to grow your show is by having ads for your podcast placed on shows that have a similar but bigger audience. This allows you to leverage that show's audience and hopefully convert their listeners into being loyal listeners on your show. A great way to get started on this is through Spotify advertising. You can advertise a 30-second spot through the Spotify app to non-premium users. Spots start at $250 US. We recommend that you start at the $250 mark and increase based on performance, which you can measure in Spotify Ad Studio. Although you can pay to do this, you can also do this for free. Find other shows that are similar to yours and do an ad swap. This way you can leverage each other's audiences and hopefully convert them into being listeners on your show. A great website to facilitate this process is Audrey. Now, we all know that podcasting is enough work by itself, so creating an ad can seem daunting. To easily create a podcast ad, you can follow this simple format. Start with a thought-provoking statement, something to get the listeners curious. From there, introduce yourself as the host and sum up your podcast in 1 to 2 sentences. After that, tell them when to listen to new episodes and then go into a call to action telling them how and where to listen to your show. We hope this video has given you some more information on podcast advertising and how you can use it to grow and monetize your show. If you want to learn more about all of the different things that you have to consider when you're starting out podcasting, then check out this playlist of videos next, where we'll give you a whole bunch of tips to launch and grow your podcast.